This Week in Startups is brought to you by Squarespace. Start building your website today at squarespace.com. Enter offer code TWIST at checkout to get 10% off. And by LinkedIn. A business is only as strong as its people, and every hire matters. Go to linkedin.com/twist and get a $50 credit towards your first job post.
Hey everybody, welcome to This Week in Startups. I'm your host, Jason Calacanis, and I'm an angel investor here in Silicon Valley. And the three scariest opportunities in investing are education, housing, and healthcare. Why are these three areas so difficult for founders to succeed in? Well, these are the areas where the costs have skyrocketed. And when costs skyrocket in a space, it usually means there's something wrong with supply and demand, or there are incumbents. And in all three of those areas, you have a combination of those things. Today, we're going to talk about education, which I believe is the worst deal in the world today. I saw just the other day that somebody was raising $91,000 a year, $360,000 to go to Juilliard. I was flabbergasted. I couldn't believe that Juilliard cost $91,000. Of course, it was Canadian dollars, so it was really like 70 and change. But $70,000 a year to learn how to perform really well with the piano or trumpet or whatever you're doing is about $300,000 US all in. If you were to make 5% on your money, you would make $15,000 a year. $15,000 a year, you could live in Alabama or any number of $500 a month rent apartments for $6,000 a year and still have $9,000 a year to live off of. Now, I'm not saying that's a king's ransom, but essentially, instead of going to Juilliard, you could have an apartment and play your musical instrument forever until you die and never have to work a day in your life. That's how out of whack the value proposition is. If this value proposition was, hey, it's $20,000 a year to go to Juilliard, it's going to be $80,000, you might be able to come up with some formula that said, well, I may work and make $50,000 a year or $80,000 a year and eventually be able to pay it off. But you're not paying off $250,000 anytime soon. And that led me to a tweet in which I said, we need to come up with a new university. And we've been talking about this for a long time. It turns out somebody's actually done it. And it's been quite successful in the early days. And that somebody is Austen Allred. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me.
You heard my introduction.
Yeah.
Is that ring true to you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just the cost reward of college, as you correctly pointed out, is very out of whack. And we're getting to the point now, we've got $1.5 trillion in student debt in the U.S., where that flows through to the rest of the economy. And
$1.5 trillion?
$1.5 trillion.
This is the bubble of bubbles.
Yes, it's pretty bad.
And the default rate, my understanding, is very high on this.
Yeah, it depends on which cohort you're looking at. If you look at, for example, some of the 2012 to 2014 cohorts at some of the for-profit universities. So University of Phoenix, I believe in 2012, had a greater default rate on its student loans than it had a graduation rate.
Wow.
So we're not even talking like X% get jobs and then it doesn't work out. We're talking they don't even graduate. More defaults than graduates.
What do you think college should cost per year if it didn't include housing? So just, what do you think is a reasonable range of what college, 9 months of going to school a year, right? It's about 9 months.
Yeah, call it 9. Carrying
a full credit load, a 4-year credit load, 9 months of going to school. What should it cost? Because that would be about 8 classes a year, right? 4 classes a semester.
Yeah, in the traditional college model, I mean, I know exactly what the costs would be for the school. I think
Unpack that for us. What would the cost be?
Yeah, so if you're just talking the price of education itself, which is,
let's talk about
that. So say world-class instructors, a really nice building, just to teach in. And if that's pretty much it, it's just instruction, you're looking at somewhere around $10,000 per student per year if it's a really small class size and really concentrated.
And a small class size would be?
Say 30.
30. 30 people.
You can sit with look at, say you took somebody that is an engineer at Google, really high salary, call it $300K. They're sitting with you full time, just 30 students and one person, maybe a couple TAs. You're easily under $10K a year.
Which makes total sense, because if you had 30 people in a class, a teacher could teach 4 classes or something like that a year.
Yeah, something like that.
4 classes times 30 people times 1,200 each. You're looking at something like $36,000 a class, 4 classes. Now you're looking at $150,000 or something.
Yeah.
$140,000. The teacher gets paid $100, $125, something in that range.
Yeah.
And it's a classroom, which costs no more than $1,000 a month.
Yeah, depending on where it's at, it's not bad. Yeah.
Yet they cost $70,000 a year, $50,000 in tuition, $20,000 in room and board. I think, right?
Yeah, on average, it depends.
The tuition's
on where you're
40,
looking.
50, 60?
Yeah, for private colleges, you're usually 30, 40 a semester.
A semester?
Yeah, depending on which.
And a year would
school
be
you're
60 or 80 then,
Yeah.
you're saying. Wow. It's gone
It's out of control.
bonkers.
Yeah.
And why, give us the historical perspective, then we'll get into your solution, Lambda School. Did I pronounce it correct?
Lambda School, yep.
Lambda School. We'll get into Lambda School in a second, but why has the cost of college gone what we would objectively say is 5 to 10x what it should cost?
Yeah, it's increasing faster than the price of healthcare, which, as we know, itself
is bonkers.
Absolutely out of control. Really what happened is the government said, we want everybody to go to college, so we're going to guarantee student loans. And as soon as that happens, you can borrow infinite amounts of money regardless of what the return on that money will be. So as a private lender, I don't really care if you repay because it's backed by Uncle Sam, right?
So it's good intention. The
Absolutely.
government did the right thing. As a society, we did the right thing and said, we'll give a loan to anybody.
Right.
The schools then took advantage of those loans by increasing and slowly boiling the frogs.
Yeah, if you're a school, you now have an unlimited amount of dollars ready to come in. So what do? You up your prices, you add administrative costs, you start to live fat, right?
And these schools have gotten fat.
Yes.
Oh my God, have they gotten fat. How many educators versus non-educators do these colleges have in terms of the staff size?
Yeah, it varies, but there's some colleges that have 2 non-educators for every educator.
Wow.
Which is
so
pretty absurd.
66% of the people are not teaching.
Right.
1 out of 3 people is teaching. 2 out of 3 people are drafting and benefiting off of that teacher.
Yep. And
Insane.
you do need some administrative costs, right? Sure, there's
1 administrator per 5 teachers. Sounds right to me.
Yeah, about there.
I don't know how many you need, but let's not be crazy here. Like, the idea is to have it be affordable and get more people into it. So the government's unintended consequence and the universities taking advantage of free money is what happened here. It reminds me of the Cobra problem. You know about that?
Exactly right.
You know about the Cobra problem?
It's the same thing that caused the housing crisis, same thing that caused the
Explain to
Cobra
people what the
problem.
Cobra problem is, where I can do it.
Go ahead. Yeah,
Yeah,
you'll do it better than I will. I don't want to buffer it.
I just learned about this other day, and I think it came up during our discussion, which was our online discussion on the Twitter. In India, the English who were colonizing India or whatever said, wow, too many cobras. Every cobra you bring, we'll give you $1. I'm making up the number here. So people started bringing in cobras. They started giving them dollars. Then enterprising people said, I'm going to breed 1,000 cobras and bring in 10 a day. They start getting $10 a day. Then somebody rats them out and they discontinue the cobra purchasing program, killing program, because somebody was just farming them. So what does the factory farmer do?
Now it releases the cobras.
They release the cobras.
They're everywhere.
And now it's worse than it started.
Yep.
Which is sort of what we're looking at here. People are now, it was supposed to make people upwardly mobile. And now it's made them downwardly mobile because they're living in debt and they can't afford to leave mom's basement.
Yep.
It's unbelievable when you think about it.
Yeah. And then
What's your solution?
So you look at we have to play within that world that's been created by that reality where college is really expensive, but you can get an unlimited amount of student loans and nobody is asking the question, is this actually worth it at the point that you start school? So we actually generally enter the equation much later. So we're talking to people that, if you were to say, okay, we've got a school, it costs $10,000, but it's not accredited, that's too much risk for most people to take on because to gain accreditation, it has to be 4 years long most of the time. It has to have a lot of bells and whistles that people don't actually need to get to a job. But that's their alternative. So they can elect to go to a school for 4 years and pay $100,000, call it, in student loans. So we have to compete in a world where that's an option. So our, beachhead into the market is by eliminating the risk from people. So the flip side of those loans being really expensive is because they're backed by the federal government, you can't bankrupt your way out of them. So if you go to school, you study, we'll say philosophy, you spend, $300,000 getting your degree. Now you can't declare bankruptcy. You're stuck with those loans for the rest of your life.
This is something people don't understand. Student loans follow you independent of bankruptcy.
Correct.
If you declare personal bankruptcy, you don't have to pay any of your other bills back. You get into some sort of program except for your student loans. And student loans are signed for by people who are 18 years old and their frontal lobes are still developing. The long-term, and this is like literally the long-term decision-making process of your brain is still under development until you're like 21 or 22.
Yep.
So people are taking on the one loan that cannot be forgiven at a time when their brains are just forming. When we get back from this quick break, I want to talk about the $0 up front and how much you have to pay back to Lambda School if you do get a job, because you're charging $0.0 up front.
Correct.
When we get back on This Week in Startups. Hey, everybody, let me take a moment to thank Squarespace. We use Squarespace for all of our sites, event sites, from Launch Festival to Launch Festival Sydney. We're going to be going to Sydney this year. We're going to go dive the Great Barrier Reef before it's gone. And every time we want to fire up a new website, we use Squarespace. We get it up and running immediately. We have beautiful templates, and you can turn your cool idea as well into a website, whether you want to showcase your work, do a blog, publish content, or sell products and services of any kind. Promote your physical or online business. Doesn't matter if it's in the real world or it's virtual. Announce an upcoming event like we do, or a special project. We use it for that as well. You're going to get those beautiful templates created by world-class designers and powerful e-commerce functionality that lets you sell anything online. You can customize the look and feel, the settings with just a few clicks. Everybody in our organization knows how to update the website, which is always a key for us. Oh my God, the website now reflects the reality of our business. And that's what you really want to do. That's my advice to you. If you're talking about what your business is and your website doesn't communicate that to your stakeholders, you're doing it wrong. Whatever you know about your business should be on that website so that your customers and stakeholders can understand it. So if you've got a new product or feature and you don't include a page about it on your website because you don't want to call the designer, you don't want to call your tech people, well, you're doing it wrong. You want to get a Squarespace site. It's got built-in search engine optimization, free and secure hosting, and it's 24/7 award-winning customer support. So here's your call to action. Get a free trial, and when you're ready to purchase, go ahead and use the offer code TWIST. That's right. When you're about to launch, you use that offer code TWIST, and you'll get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Make it yourself. Easily create a website by yourself, and you can make it stand out. Stand out with a beautiful website with those gorgeous, gorgeous templates that work on all mobile devices, your desktop, everywhere. It's really future-proof, and they keep making the product better and better. It's one of the great things about investing in Squarespace is that every day of every year, they're investing in their own platform and giving you great new features for the same low price. Okay, thanks again, Squarespace. Hey, everybody, welcome back to This Week in Startups. I'm your host, Jason Calacanis. If you have an idea for a great startup company, well, you should build it. And when you do build it, you should send me a link and I'll take a look at it. Jason@calacanis.com. Maybe you come to Launch Incubator. Maybe we syndicate you to Jason's Syndicate. Maybe I invest $100K, whatever. That's what I do for a living. I write checks. I'm an angel investor. You can read all about it in a book called Angel. And if you happen to be in Sydney, come to launchfestivalsydney.com or come to founder.university, where I teach people how to become founders for 3 days with a bunch of my friends. Okay, my guest today, Austen Allred of Lambda School, which she started in, 2016 or 17?
2017.
2017.
Yep.
It's $0 up front. Then how do you make money? And what are you training people for?
Yeah, so we wanted to create a school where the incentives of the school are entirely aligned with the incentives of the student. So we actually never make money unless you graduate, you get a job using the skills we've taught you that pays more than $50,000 a year.
Okay.
If you don't do that, we make zero.
And what are you teaching people?
Software engineering and data science right now.
Got it. So you picked two of the most profitable things you could learn. Smart. And how many people have gone through the program, and how much do they have to pay you back if they do get a job that pays $70,000 a year, let's say, or $80,000 a year? How does the payback work if I do successfully get a job as a software or data engineer?
Yeah, you pay back 17% of salary for 2 years. So let's say you get a job for $75K, you'll pay $12,500 a year for 2 years, and that's it.
25 dimes.
Yep.
And you enabled me to get that job, so I am easily able to pay it back over that 2-year period.
Yep.
And then I am scot-free.
Yep. You're done.
I'm
Forever.
done. Okay. Now, you're doing software engineering, which to me seems like a hard skill, or it's not easy to do.
Yep.
I want to know if that's a correct assumption or not. And then does that limit the pool of people who need a zero upfront school the most? In other words, if I have the prerequisites to be a developer, do I need to get this free education or not? I guess that's my core question.
Yeah. So I view it from a perspective of ability to take financial risk.
Okay.
Right. So I grew up in the middle of nowhere. Basically, before I came to San Francisco, I was living on a hay farm.
Where's that?
Ephraim, Utah.
Oh, you're from Utah, of course.
Yeah, Ephraim. Yeah.
That's like a town of 150?
A couple thousand.
Couple thousand. Oh,
yeah,
it's
so
huge.
pretty big. Yeah,
Pretty
have a
big.
stoplight now.
How many? Oh, they got a stoplight.
Yeah,
Oh, it's installed?
One.
Did they turn it on yet?
it's on. Yeah.
It's on.
Yeah.
Okay, wow. That must
We even got a McDonald's recently. It's a happening spot. Yeah.
Oh, filet of fish time. Very good. So that's the thing. You don't want to, I mean, it's dicey enough to order the filet of fish in a city. Can you imagine?
But out in the country?
In the country, that filet of fish, they sell one every 7 days.
Yeah.
You don't want to be the person buying that one.
Interesting.
All right. So
some of the smartest people I know back where I'm from are working on hay farms for $10K, $20K a year just because.
$10K a year.
Yeah. You can make it on $10K. It's not comfortable.
$200 a week.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
$7 a
really smart people. And you say, you can go to school, you can get a degree, you can study something, but there's no way they're going to call it $100,000 in risk to do that because that's, if you or I had to take a risk that was 10x our annual salary, that's a big ask.
That'd be a big ask for me for sure.
So, because we've de-risked it, we can kind of take our pick from the pool of everybody who would like a de-risked education.
So it actually increases the pool.
Hugely, yeah.
Hugely.
Yep.
So then my follow-up question to you is, I thought having skin in the game, money, was a major driver of people working hard and taking it seriously. If it costs zero, do people take it seriously? Do you have people who just drop off and don't take it serious?
Yeah, in the beginning we had really bad drop-off. We were looking at paper resumes and trying to pick people, and it just doesn't work very well. Now we have about a month of pre-course work before you get in. So you have to put in some sweat equity, as it were.
Yeah.
And we can look at the performance in the pre-course classes and make our selection based on that.
And this is all online courses, or do
Entirely
they come
online.
in person?
Yep, entirely online.
Got it.
Yep.
How many people are there in a section of a class, or do you do it on a rolling basis, or is it study as you go on your own, or do classes start like every 3 months? How do you provide this service?
Yeah, so we start a new class every month.
Every month.
Yep. So we have just over 400 people enrolled right now.
Wow.
And then we don't manage as closely the number of people in a cohort as we do the number, what we call the ratio. So you have a ratio that is a student to instructor ratio, and instructors are people that we hire away from Google and NASA and Apple, the top companies in the world.
How does one get a developer to not take a $250,000 a year job at Google or a $500,000 a year job at Facebook tweaking the ads and get them to become a teacher? Doesn't that break the model?
Well, the first thing is you pay them. not paying them nothing, right?
Right.
They're paid well.
Okay.
It's not 300,000 they're making in Facebook well, but they make enough to live.
Somewhere halfway to there or something.
Yeah, it's remote, so you can leave Palo Alto and go move to somewhere where you can actually afford a home.
Still make 150 dimes or something in that range?
120, we'll call
120, yeah, okay.
And then the
So
last...
that's a reasonable salary for somebody not working in the Bay Area as a developer.
That's a good life.
Yeah, it's a good life.
Yeah, it's objectively enough to own a big house and do whatever you want.
Yeah, in Toronto or in Austen.
We've got people in Utah and Texas and Oregon. And
Utah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oof. You own the block.
And then, I mean, the big thing is you literally, a lot of people would want to become educators. But if you look at the track to becoming a professor, you're not so much teaching as doing research and other stuff that's not actually teaching. So most professors at most universities spend very little of their time teaching, most of their time doing administrative stuff, publishing, researching, stuff
So
like
this is
that.
a quick path to be teaching on day one.
Yeah, so we can take our pick from the top teachers at state schools, from the top would-be educators at the top companies.
So there are people teaching at a state school how to be a developer, but they're paid less, and they have to drag their ass into the office.
Yep, exactly.
And they have to go through 2 or 3 years of being tortured doing admin nonsense.
Yep, and those institutions tend to be very politically driven, and we say we change our curriculum multiple times a day. We're very reactive to the market. We're going out to the market, trying to figure out what to teach and reverse engineering from there. So everything that we do is driven to get people jobs.
So you just raised a seed round, and you had your first graduating class?
We've had 3 graduating classes.
3 now? Mm-hmm. Wow.
So 3 months. Yeah, so our first class graduated 3 months ago, and then
How long is the course? How long are the courses?
it's 7 months full time,
Oh, wow.
or a year and a little bit part time.
So this is no joke. This is a lot of work.
Yeah, it's real.
It's real. 7 months full time, 40 hours a week.
Yep, at least. Yeah.
At least. So how does one deliver this education over a laptop? Can you show it to me? Or
Yeah, let me see if
I
there's...
don't know if there's people in class right now.
I need to check, see if there's
Is it like a
class.
MOOC format, these massively online courses, I guess they call it?
It is not a MOOC. It is entirely live and interactive.
Oh, you're kidding. Like you do video? It's like a Peloton class?
Yeah, so we use like Zoom.
Yep. Everybody talks about that Zoom.
Yeah, or I don't know if you have a sponsor that's a video conferencing platform. We use
GoToMeeting.
GoToMeeting.
Cisco. Sparkboard.
Yeah, so that's basically
They've both
it.
been sponsors. I don't think Zoom's been a sponsor yet. But I was on a Zoom call the other day. It was okay.
Yeah.
I'm a GoToMeeting guy.
Let's see. So it's 4:00. So they're actually pair programming for the next 15 minutes. Then they'll be back in class.
Got it.
But yeah, it's entirely live instruction.
So they have to be there. They have to be in the chat room at a certain time with a headset on.
Yep, your butt in seat, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Pacific.
Wow. Button seat 8 to 5. And you have 400 people doing that. Mm-hmm. And so they're all listening to the same lecture.
Well, they're in different cohorts.
Oh, different cohorts. How many cohorts concurrently then?
So we do 6 cohorts at any given time.
Oh, wow. So about 60 in each, 70 in each?
Yeah, it's kind of growing over time. But then we do what we call progression-based mastery. So in other words, at the end of each week is a unit, and you go through that unit for the entire week, and then at the end there's a challenge. If you can't pass the challenge, instead of just moving on and being behind, you just fall back and repeat that week again. So the idea of cohorts kind of falls away at a certain point, and you just have a lot of different people
At
on
different
different
levels.
sections. Yeah.
So then the teachers, how many teachers does it take to teach 400 people?
We've got about 15 right now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So it's what is that, a 30 to 1 ratio or something like
So
that?
yeah,
there
so
a ratio here that you think is-
that's about 30 to 1. And then we have what we call TAs. And so TAs are after the first 4 months of the class, you can stay on for a 3-month contract. So everybody's actually working in a group of 8 students with one person who's working with them all day.
So a TA is somebody who got through the course and wants to get paid now?
Yep.
Some token amount to be...
Yeah, it's $10-15 an hour.
Perfect. But they're teaching the coding lessons they recently learned.
So they're not teaching. The lecture is broadcast to a bigger
okay.
group. But then the group projects, you're working with the TA. And so
Got it.
kind of they handle the lower level problems, and something can bubble up to an instructor.
Got it. So if
that lets
there's
us,
some boneheaded mistake somebody's making, they can say, hey, look.
that lets us
you
keep
got a
costs
typo.
down, right? Because if you're doing a 1-to-8 ratio with people getting paid $150K a year,
Sure.
it's
so
expensive.
the first line of defense, and they can they can handle half the incoming support.
Probably 90%.
90% of the incoming support. Like, where's the lesson plan? Or it's not working. I can't install the compiler.
Yep.
Like goofy stuff like that.
Yep. And then if there's something major, the nice thing about being online is all of our instructors can spread out and kind of fan out and handle everything.
All right. When we get back from this quick break, I want to know, with those first 3 cohorts, some of the highlights of people actually getting jobs. In other words, did your grand vision, 0 up front, and then make it on the back end up to $30K maximum, 17% of the salary for 2 years, did that actually come to fruition when we get back on This Week in Startups? Yes, LinkedIn jobs. I love LinkedIn. I've been spending a ton of time on LinkedIn. I love the new feed, by the way, where you can share information and see what your friends are up to. But putting aside their amazing new feed that's highly addictive, I want to talk today about hiring. We all know that hiring is hard. We have many open positions here, and it takes us months to find high-quality candidates. And you know that your business is only as strong as the people you have working for you, like Emmy Award-winning producer Jackie and Jason DeMond, who runs the incubator. We have all these great people here. Well, where are those great people? They're on LinkedIn. It's the world's largest professional network, and it's the best way to find great talent. All that talent is sitting there ready and waiting. Yes, 70% of the U.S. workforce is already on LinkedIn. And if you're hearing my voice, you have a LinkedIn page. I know you do. And that means you also know that you're going to find quality candidates on LinkedIn. Businesses rate LinkedIn jobs 40% higher than job boards at delivering quality candidates. And you know why this is. It's because it's the world's largest professional network. So just ask the hundreds of thousands, yes, hundreds of thousands of businesses that have posted to LinkedIn jobs over the past year. 22 million professionals, and this is the amazing number, view and apply to jobs on LinkedIn every week. I'm not saying 22 million people log on to LinkedIn every week. That would be an amazing number in and of itself. No, 22 million people look at the jobs and apply to the jobs on LinkedIn every week. And that's in every industry. So if you're not using LinkedIn for your hiring needs, you are missing out. Here's your call to action, and this is a good one. I want you to go to linkedin.com/twist, linkedin.com/TWIST. When you go there, you're going to get a $50 credit towards your first job posting. Think about that. $50 is sitting there waiting for you. So I want you to pull over. I want you to get in front of your computer. I want you to get offline at Blue Bottle or wherever you're having your espresso and go to linkedin.com/twist, linkedin.com/twist, and get that $50 credit. Terms and conditions apply, of course, like any of these things. And I can tell you, we've had an incredible run finding highly talented people on LinkedIn and using LinkedIn jobs. So get that $50 and give it a shot. Let me know how it goes for you. LinkedIn.com/twist. Hey, and go follow me. Add me as a contact on LinkedIn. You can find me, Jason Calacanis. I'm right there. And you'll see how often I'm on there. I'm posting clips from the show. I'm asking questions. LinkedIn is just on fire. So go ahead and go to linkedin.com/twist for your $50 credit today. All right, let's get back to this amazing episode. Welcome back, everybody. I'm your host, Jason Calacanis. Go ahead and follow me on Twitter @Jason, where I say outlandish things and have conversations with founders. Or follow me on Instagram @Jason, where I share pictures of barbecued flesh and my kids. It falls into 3 categories now. My kids, my dogs, and barbecue.
It's a good life.
It's just, that's it. That's my life. I pick up my guitar, I play guitar with my kids, and I make steaks. My guest today, Austen Allred, who you can follow on the Twitter, Austen with TEN, and then Allred, ALLRED. He is the CEO of Lambda School, which started in 2017. And the idea here is to teach people how to be software engineers with no upfront cost. And if they get past 50K in a job, based on the 7, 8, 9 months that they're in school, they will pay back 17% of the salary for 2 years or 34% of their salary.
Yeah. I mean, it might change.
And it caps at 30K.
Capped at 30K. So the maximum we can possibly get paid is 30K.
And people might feel very good about paying you that 30K because they're coming in qualifying for a job at the Apple Store.
Yep. Our average increase in income from before Lambda School to after Lambda School right now is $52,000 a year.
That's the delta.
The delta is
It's gone
52,000.
up 52. So they were
Correct.
making,
So making
30.
they're now 82.
Amazing. So you're really changing people's lives.
Yeah.
And you have graduated 3 classes
3 classes.
since launching 2017 January.
July. Yeah.
July. So 3 classes, 3 sections classes. So this hundreds of people have graduated.
So it's about 60. We started smaller.
Oh, you started
'cause it was
smaller,
just me and
right,
my
makes-
co-founder at the time.
And then 400 right now in this last cohort?
Yeah.
Oh
well,
my God.
400 total enrolled across the 6 cohorts.
Across 6 cohorts, yeah. So that's a big jump.
Yeah, we've very consciously grown it about 15% from cohort to cohort as we added more staff and that kind of thing.
How do you get people to find out about it and join? Do you just do Facebook ads or refer a friend, bounties? How do you get people
We do that
to
stuff.
take this jump?
Our big acquisition driver is we teach free classes. So the free class that we use to select people, we broadcast live for free to literally anybody.
So people might just run into it on Periscope or Facebook or whatever. Zoom.
Yeah, so in the last one, we had like 7,000 people participate.
Wow.
And then we're picking the top few people that apply from that.
How do you get to
from that cohort.
7,000? A little marketing here and there?
Yeah, I mean, we put a lot of money into ads, but it's pretty easy to grow a free class, right?
You would think it would be, but I wouldn't know that for sure. You got to get the flywheel going.
Sure.
And is there an average age for people coming into this? Are these 25 to 35-year-olds who want a career change, or they graduated with a philosophy degree and realize they're qualified to greet people at Walmart?
Yeah, it's about 50%. We call it study the wrong thing.
Study the wrong thing. That's a kind way of putting it.
Yeah.
You blew it.
It's
you
about
done effed up.
It's about 25% that have some college. So a lot we're pulling out of CS programs. They want kind of a faster track and realize they're going to be spending a lot of money.
Oh, wow. So people get halfway into their computer science degree and realize this is not worth it.
Yep.
Why don't I take the free option?
Yep.
So genius.
And then about 25%, they don't have any college. So they've
No college.
high school and that's it. Surprisingly, so far, that third cohort has outperformed the other 2 cohorts.
Whoa. Hold on a second.
Yep.
The people who have not gone to college are outperforming the I've got the wrong degree people and the I'm halfway through, I need to save money people.
So far, yep.
Why? What is your speculation? Do you have an educated guess?
My hunch is that they know they're screwed if it doesn't work out. They know what it's like on the other side. They're working at a gas station. This is the shot.
Wow. So they appreciate it. They care about it. They don't want to F it up.
Yep.
Tell me about some of these graduates. What's the, give me the top 3 or 4 instances. Did anybody ever go work at Facebook or Google and
Yeah, we've
just
got
crush it?
We've got one at Uber.
Oh,
So he's actually
it's a great company.
Yeah, I've
Awesome
heard about
company.
it.
Yes,
Yeah.
they're doing fantastic, I understand.
So he was actually working in a warehouse, making $14 an hour. Came to Lambda School. Now he's working on Uber's secret projects team somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
That I'm not supposed to mention where
I
it's
have
at.
the list right here of the super projects, and I'll go over them. Flying cars, check.
But yeah, so he's a React Native engineer there.
Oh, yeah, React, sure.
So, mobile basically.
React allows you to write apps for the web, essentially, and then wrap them or natively push them to iOS and Android.
Both iOS and Android.
Yeah, one time.
Yeah.
And it used to be wrapping those kind of things was a bad experience, and now it actually is pretty good.
Yeah. So it's kind of crazy. He showed up at Uber and he never had a smartphone before, but he's a mobile app developer. So Uber had to buy him a smartphone,
Wow.
which is not normally the demographic of somebody who's a mobile developer. We have one that's working on with Patrick Collison at Stripe.
Yeah, of course.
So she studied paleontology, was making $50 a day, pushing wheelbarrows basically. Came to us. Now she works with Patrick individually on his side projects, actually.
Oh, on a side project. Very nice. I thought you were saying she's working at Jurassic Park, working on gene
That'd
splitting.
be cool.
She's making a new hybrid dinosaur.
That's the next job. Got to get that. Got to get that income to do.
Well, that's a good segue. You've had this like modest success now, and you're scaling up. One would look at this and say, okay, you cherry pick software engineering and data scientists. These are the highest paying jobs, so that's good for you. Could this work for a degree in accounting or law or journalism or some? I mean, law probably not because there's a certification there. But Do you think you're going to move over to an adjacency like design, and then after that, do you think you would move into something like, say, accounting or something?
Yeah, our design course launches in October.
Okay.
So that's the answer to question one.
Uh-huh.
But I really think it scales to anything that doesn't require physical touch. Like the online is the
key.
key.
What about doing, or have people started doing study groups where they get together on their own? Because one of the things I've heard about edX and Coursera and some of these things, they have very low completion rates. Mm-hmm. And people, because they don't have live, I don't believe.
Nope, they don't.
No live. It's all just like read it and go to a message board, which kind of sucks.
Yeah.
People said it would be interesting if you could do an in-person, charge people a little bit to have like a rented desk somewhere and people showed up somewhere. Mm-hmm. And that, I know there's a code school here in this city that's doing phenomenal. I forgot the name of it. But they're doing really well. They charge a lot. Mm-hmm. And people come physically. So do you get that a lot, that people want to come physically? Or is it like, if you come physically, we got to charge you $10K?
We do. I actually think it's a better experience online because you're working just with your code with other people and there's not any other abstractions or like distractions.
Abstractions and distractions.
Yeah, that worked really well.
Yeah.
It's harder to do on the back end. So we had to build a lot of stuff that makes it possible from an administrative standpoint. Like there's a lot of subtle cues that you rely on when you're in person that you don't have when you're online. But with software, you can kind of build that into the actual product itself. So we're running, and most of it is stuff that students will never see, but the stuff that's running in the background that lets us power everything is really important.
Your content management system, essentially, or your community management?
Yeah, we call
stuff?
it the operating system.
It's, BOS.
Yeah. Obviously, it's not really an operating system.
No.
But then, when you're in a physical, when you're online, it's just you, and you can see the code up front, and you can. There are a lot of, because the business model is different. You get more one-on-one time, and you're always working directly with other people. I don't know if you've ever sat in like a class where you learn programming, but it's like the code's projected up on a screen and it's kind of hard to see, and you can't pause, you can't rewind, you can't, questions are really difficult to answer actually because it interrupts the entire class, whereas we can have like a queue where questions line up. And
then you just do one-on-one answering of the questions, or somebody can listen to them if they don't want to.
Yeah, exactly.
But they can opt out of listening if they know the answer.
Yeah, So there are a lot of different things that are actually broken about being in person that you don't realize until they're not there.
Commute time, bias.
Yeah, and then the obvious thing
annoying
is that
cost.
If we had to force people to move to San Francisco for 7 months, 99% of our students wouldn't be able to do it.
Yeah, they would not be able to make it happen.
And that's key as well. A lot of our students, they couldn't, come up with $10,000 to go to a school, let alone move somewhere and come up with $10,000.
Right. I really like this idea of, though, you have to take a course ahead of time and answer these questions. Mm-hmm. In order to get into the class.
Yeah.
That, to me, sounds like a very unique innovation because now they're vested. They took the pre-class.
Yeah. And we can see, there are a lot of people that they take that pre-course and learn that it's just not for them. They can't wrap their minds around programming or something.
Can anybody learn to be a programmer? This has been one of these questions that's debated here. What do you candidly think, Austen?
Yeah, I don't think it's everybody.
It's not everybody.
I don't think it's the 2% that are programmers right now. I think it's probably 60-70% of the population could become programmers.
Wow.
I don't think IQ is usually the thing that holds people back. I think it's usually learning how to deal with analytical things, basically. So I definitely think that if you took the average person off the street, there's a decent chance they could become a programmer.
Really? 2 out of 3 could do it?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's interesting because a lot of people seem to have this position. You probably have heard them before, that it's just not for everybody.
Well, I think
it's not for the majority of people.
I think that is, so I actually think that comes down to the way people learn. So I think there's a small percentage of the population that can self-learn without being taught how to learn.
Yep.
And those are the people who are programmers. Because historically, you've mostly had to teach yourself to one degree or another, especially within the world of computer science.
Right.
So, we view our first 4 weeks as like breaking the bad habits of the educational system that you've been in for your whole life. So people come in, in day one and they say, okay, will this be on the test? Like, what are the assignments? We're like, no, that's just not, you have to get over that way of thinking about the world where you're checking boxes and into a new way of thinking, and then you can learn to program.
And that new way of thinking is what?
So it's learning how. So first of all, it's when you discover a problem, when you see something that you don't know how to do, instead of instinctively saying, I don't know how to do that, saying, okay, what are the pieces that make this up so I can figure it out, so I can learn to do it on my own. Our education system right now just doesn't teach you to do that.
It makes you have not only helplessness, but like a deep rooted helplessness.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how to do that. I mean, I literally hire people, or have in the past, it hasn't happened recently, where there are responses, I haven't done that before.
Right.
How do I do that? And it's like...
And it's probably a Google search away.
It's unbelievable to me how many discussions I've had with founders and just other people in my life where instead of... I mean, it's a stupid example, but I have been challenging myself to learn new skills because I'm getting older. I'm 47 now, and I'm thinking about like neuroplasticity and my own sharpness. Mm-hmm. So I just went online and I watched backgammon videos, and I learned. You play backgammon?
I don't.
You have money?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll play.
I mean, maybe not.
Yeah,
Depends on how you define money.
That's okay. We'll play for $10 a point. Anyway, there's a whole series of videos online that just tell you, here's the opening moves. Once you learn the opening moves, which is a finite set of moves, because obviously it's 2 dice and there's 6 different outcomes on each, you can build a little matrix of 6 by 6 and see all the outcomes. You know how to do all the opening moves. Just like in chess, there's a certain number of opening moves, right? A certain number of...
We'll play chess for money. I'll play chess.
Okay, yeah. I have a feeling that we'll have to maybe counterbalance that with a little poker. But and then I did it for tennis. And then I did it for guitar. And then I found an app that teaches you guitar. And like the amount of stuff that's been created for the App Store, YouTube, the web, etc., is stunning. And then my heater broke for my pool. Mm-hmm. And I took the thing apart. I got the product number. I went on to, there's all these message board forums now.
Yeah.
Where the people who fix heaters for a living hang out. In other words,
and answer questions all day. Yeah.
They're sitting there answering each other's questions. These are the people that I'm going to pay to come. Mm-hmm. And so then I get a quote for the pool. It's like $2,000 to fix your heater. I'm like, okay, by the way, that unit cost $175 for the board, and it should take less than half an hour to install it because I just uninstalled it. Mm-hmm. Plugged it in and confirmed that it doesn't work. I know there's like a huge tangent here, but to do the front line of defense and learning is really what founders should be doing, what people need to do in the world. And they've been taught to be intimidated by everything. That's why the maker movement is so important, and these type of new schools is so important.
Yeah, I've been shocked at how, so some of our students have actually graduated with CS degrees, and they want to kind of get more modern skills because they went to a school that, we've had a couple students that enroll with a CS degree, and they literally cannot write code.
Wait, how is that possible?
There are some schools that,
suck?
Well, computer science is technically a theory, right? Huh. And so you've learned all the theory, and maybe you have 1 or 2 classes you code in, but not really. Huh. So they come in, they can't write code, and you show them something, and they'll just say, "Yeah, I can't do that. Sorry." But you show somebody that's never had that experience before, and you give them, just a little nudge, and they'll go figure it out.
Did you build software for people to write the code in so you can watch them as they write it? Because I know there are some people doing that where like the class is actually the emulator, I guess, or or do you just have them use off-the-shelf tools and watch them through video conferencing or something?
So we intentionally have them use what we call production tools. We force you to use the same stuff that you would use in the workplace,
which would be.
A text editor and GitHub.
Text and GitHub, and that's it.
Yeah.
And do you do screen sharing with them when you watch their screens, or they just upload their code somewhere to the repo and then you look at it there?
Both.
I would think screen sharing would be super powerful.
Yeah, screen sharing. That's the only way we communicate. We have a Slack channel, but really it's screen sharing and then code review.
What's the drop-off rate? How many people quit now, and has it been going down, or do you not care if people finish because they'll come back another time?
So in the beginning, from day 1 to graduation, it was about 50%.
That's actually really good compared to MOOCs, which is, my understanding, 90% drop-off?
10% completion on average.
Yeah.
Now, and about 90% of that happens in the first 2 weeks. Because, obviously, if you can stick it out for 2 weeks, it's likely that you can stick it out for the 3rd week, more likely than if you dropped out in the first week. So our last 2-week retention or last 2-week dropout was 3%. And so, we're planning on somewhere between 10 to 20% dropout throughout the whole course. We see a lot of dropout for financial reasons, which is so
they don't have the time because they have to pay, they have to go to work. They can't do it full time.
So if your spouse is supporting you while you're going through the course and they lose their job, then you're out of luck. We have a part-time class, but that's much longer and much harder commitment for a lot of people because it's over a year long, 4 days a week.
And is it going to work? It probably won't work, right?
We'll see. It's a test. There's definitely a bigger dropout rate in the first 6 months for the part-time. We'll have to see what the rest of the class does that's still in, because the hard thing is, a year and a little bit after work, that's just a big ask, right? That's a long commitment.
Arduous.
And that's all of your time. It's every night and Saturdays. That's a lot. So we're with this next round that we're raising, we're going to get to a place where we can actually do living stipends for people. So not only can you attend for free, but we'll actually pay your bills while you're going to the school.
$200, $400, something.
$1,000 a month.
$1,000 a month. So it's almost like universal basic income.
Yeah. I mean, the point when people like universal basic income, it's for this reason, right?
Yeah.
So that people can go to school.
But now we're going to get into the COBRA problem. What if
Potentially.
If they just sign up to get the 1,000 and you got somebody who's a real loser or scamster saying, hey, I'm just going to get the 1,000 and then never get a job?
Yeah. So
you could get worked.
The nice thing is because we're both the financial arm and the education company, we can decide whether or not you get a stipend based on your performance.
You can kick them out in month 2. So it only costs you $2,000, not $7,000.
Yeah.
Perfect. See, this is the thing. The financial incentives are super aligned, and this would align it even further. You'd be making an investment in somebody and say, hey, now you've got to pay back.
Yeah, we already view it as making an investment in people.
Right, but I mean, now you got to cash out.
But now it's a different level.
That's an interesting experiment.
Yeah.
Wow, that is going to just change the game. Can you imagine if universities were forced to say, half your tuition will be contingency based on you getting a job? So the first half of your tuition, you have to pay back no matter what. Mm-hmm. The second half of your tuition, you have to pay back only if you make a job over $60,000 a year, and it'll be 10%, no more than 10% until you pay it back.
Yeah.
That would change their behavior radically. They'd be like, don't spend so much.
Definitely.
Let's cut some costs.
We had students come to us and say, hey, we've got 15 students banded together. We've all got $15,000. We'll pay you to create a video game development course. We'll all pay up front. We have a data science team that's always looking at the job markets and trying to determine what the next courses are we teach. They look at that market, and it's pretty easy to see that you're not going to make it into video game development with a year of training. As much as people would love to pay for it, it's just not going to happen.
It's going to take 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, and it's even if you take 4 years and with 3 or 4 years experience, it's one of the most brutal industries ever because everybody would love to
make
video games.
Yeah, no, it's like going to work in Hollywood and people are like, people were complaining about their internships.
Yeah.
And there was this New York Times story where like a person's like 34 years old. He's like, I'm 34 and like every year I do 2 or 3 internships and I don't have a job. It's like, maybe you suck at the job.
Yeah.
And maybe you need to think about another career because obviously you're not worth paying for.
Yeah.
And they're like, I'm being abused by the free internship system. And it's like, that you opted into.
Right.
You're literally being abused because you took a job as a gaffer, not even a gaffer, like as a, I don't know what they call those extra set of hands.
You would know more than I would.
There's some like...
You're way more Hollywood than me.
There's a grunt work, a PA, thank you. I mean, whatever, producer Jackie or director Jacob. Production assistant. Yeah, like you literally went for your 18th production assistant job and you're complaining, like the fact that you took the job means that you're an 18th time means you're unqualified to work in the industry.
Yeah, something's off.
Something is off, more than off. You're just bad at your job.
Yeah.
It'd be like somebody being like, I'm going to do my 18th internship at Condé Nast. It's like, if you did 2 and you didn't get a job,
time to call it.
It's time to call it. You're not a good writer.
Yeah.
You need to go back to the laboratory, kid. What's the proper length of time for somebody to be an employable developer? Short, medium, long? I know you've picked 7-8 months here, but right.
Yeah. So we most code schools are 3 months.
Right.
And if you look at why they're 3 months, it's actually not because they think that's ideal for students. They would all readily admit that is too short.
It's too short.
But their business model is people coming up to them, handing them, we'll say $10,000, and they can train you with that $10,000, and they still need margin left over. So if they're going to make that business model work, it has to be 3 months because they need to turn out four classes a year. They have the same space.
So for them to make it work, they'd have to charge 20, and people wouldn't sign up for 20.
Correct.
So it's a function of what can people walking up to the counter afford.
Correct.
Not what they need.
Yep.
What they need is a minimum of 6 or 7 months.
Yeah. So we started with 6 months. We just added a 7th month.
Smart.
We think that's enough. It's probably on the short side, to be honest. If you
I was about
want
to say, I
a
was
really
wondering.
talented engineer, we might go longer. We'll always be experimenting with it.
What do you think of apprenticeships? Since you're so into revolutionizing the way school is constructed, apprenticeships have gone away. An apprenticeship where the student paid to be taught by a blacksmith, I guess, would be like the classic example. Like, not only am I going to work for free, I'm going to pay to learn from a master electrician or something like that.
Yeah, we have an apprenticeship built into Lambda School itself. So the last 2 months ish are actually an apprenticeship. So we have paid senior engineers, we have paid project managers, and you basically show up day one, and it's like you're working in a real company.
Wow.
So you pull tickets, you write code, you get code review.
But what about actually working in a company? So Slack or whoever says, hey, Stripe says, we're going to hire 10 of your people. They get 6 months on the job.
Yeah,
and they pay us.
Love that. Yeah.
See, I think that's the thing that's missing in the world.
So we obviously it's hard for us to get that happening at all these different companies. We do that on occasion when they come to us. But we started working on that program, and then all the companies were like, okay, well, let us interview all of your students, and we'll pick the top 1 or 2. We're like, no, if it's going to be an apprenticeship, you have to take what there is, right?
Yeah. Because that is the issue. It's the distraction to the core business. Like,
right.
A developer is so valuable if you're understaffed, even though it's good for the long term to pause and say, hey, teach this person.
Right. It's almost you have to spin up like another side division of the company.
It's too hard.
It's just a lot to ask. So we do that in-house now.
Have you thought about creating like a consulting company inside of your company that would then do consulting for people?
Mm-hmm. Some of them are paid.
Some are paid.
Yeah. We pass 100% of the fees onto the students.
Oh, neat.
Because we're not in it to be like a services company.
But I mean, like, I think you probably wouldn't want to do this, but you could get your hair cut by the students who are training, and I think you pay $5 to get your hair done, or $10 to get your hair done.
That's exactly what happens.
Yeah.
So people can submit bids, say, hey, build this project for us. The one stipulation there is that we have to be able to open source the code because we want the students to be able to show employers what their code looks like. So that eliminates some of the market, but yeah, whether we create it in-house or people come to us, and we've had internships before, we'll build that out.
Is the University of Phoenix a scam?
100%.
100%.
Uh-huh.
And explain the scam. What's the ruse here?
So back in the day, University of Phoenix was very legitimate. They were just trying to be a good, cheap school for people to go to that didn't want to go to a traditional university. So they would bring a campus close to you. The classes were at night, that kind of thing. Then when the student loan bubble started getting inflated by free subsidized student loans, I used to work in user acquisition, so basically lead generation. Mm-hmm. So if you get a person who's interested in a University of Phoenix education on the phone, they'll buy that lead. They'll hot swap it out for $1,500. So they know that every person they can get on the phone, the percentage likelihood that they can get you to take out $80,000 in student loans is enough that they'll buy it for $1,500 a lead. So it's literally just how many students can we get in, and we'll sign them up for student loans. And after that, who cares? We got our money.
And they're getting people with the GI Bill and all this stuff, from what I understand, are taking out huge loans.
They get Pell grants, they get student loans, they get GI Bill, anything. I mean,
now you would not qualify for that.
Not yet, correct.
Not yet. Mm-hmm. So explain why you wouldn't qualify with Lambda School.
Because we're not an a regionally accredited institution. And to be regionally accredited, we have to be at least 4 years. We have to have 2 years of generals.
Wait. You have to be 4 years old to be accredited?
4 years long.
4 years long?
Yeah,
Well, that's nonsense.
correct.
Wait, is that a state or a federal law?
So there are different jurisdictions that accredit things. The most popular one is called regional accreditation. There are 4 accrediting bodies. They're in different parts of the world. There's a push right now to get a 2-year accreditation process through, but it's just not, it hasn't happened yet. My guess is in the next year.
So when people get an associate's, they're from a university that has a 4-year program, so that's okay.
And there's vocational accreditation, but usually that's not tied into Title IV funding, which means you can't get student loans. And so that's
What
why
a disaster for our country.
it's terrible.
They literally have said it's another Cobra-like problem, except this is a different one, which is a 4-year degree is not what people need.
Correct.
So the only way for them to get loans is to force them into something they don't need.
Yep.
They would do better to do a 1-year program, see if they like the career. If they don't, they have time to switch.
See, but try taking that line of thinking to the people, to the powers that be, and they say, well, we're not training people so that they have jobs. We're training people so that they're better people, and that happens to be correlated
people.
with getting jobs.
If you want to be a better person, like meditate, go to church, take martial arts lessons, read poetry, whatever.
Yep. But you are daring to talk against the great liberal arts education.
Ugh.
Yeah, so
It's a
good luck.
disaster. It's the reason our country is going to get our asses kicked by people in China and South America and other countries, India, where people have a work ethic that's insane, and they want to learn a skill and a trade that could actually result in productivity in the world.
I saw a tweet today that in 2016, China graduated just over 5 million people with STEM degrees. So science, technology, engineering. In the U.S., it was just over 500,000.
So they're 10x.
So literally 10x the number of engineers.
Right. And they're doing gene splicing, and they're going to give everybody
And they have
10
no
extra
other regulations.
And they don't. So they're literally going to be crossbreeding people and doing DNA manipulation to give everybody 10 extra IQ points and be a foot taller. So essentially, we're going to be up against like a billion Yao Ming height individuals who also have 10 more IQ points.
China's going to be interesting to watch. Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, if you're willing to, if your country is not a democracy and you're willing to do crazy, overbearing things to your citizens, like they're now like tracking people's steps. I don't know if this is true or not, but like they're giving social rewards, like a Black Mirror episode
that's
for
totally
certain
true.
behaviors.
Yeah.
And this apparently is true, but I haven't been following it exactly, but they said people who hit like a certain number of steps are going to get some sort of social credits, and the social credits will be redeemable
so you get
for
cheaper
something.
insurance. You get so they're just tracking everything, and basically you have like
Oh my God.
we have a credit score. They have like an everything score, and then you can kind of gamify everything that your population does, which
Oh
is
my God.
yeah.
That is just...
We talk about 1984, and it's
1984 is like 2018 in China. Like I saw that they have this cradle for your phone, for your desk, that charges
and it'll fake
and
the
it fakes your
movements.
moving.
Yep.
So talk about like the Cobra problem. I think that's actually where it came up, was we're talking about this and it's like, okay, well, this is some weird incentives. It would be like telling people their salaries based upon their SAT scores. And then everybody like who's going to be a doctor or a developer or whatever, a sales executive just aces the SATs, and the acing the SATs does not help you in that job.
Mm-hmm. Which to some degree is happening in the U.S., right? Like
Kind of the whole model.
the
isn't
people
it?
that get into Stanford and Harvard are the people that are really good at jumping hoops. And
Taking those
they'll
accreditation
do
tests.
anything they have to do to get into Stanford or Harvard.
And then they become the leaders of the country because they get every break because they got that magical Harvard or Stanford on their resume.
And they're writing the rules of accreditation. I mean, so
Wow, it's like a vicious cycle.
one of the interesting things about
Well,
accreditation...
I got a 1600 on my SAT, so therefore we should perpetuate
you
this
have
madness.
to have a certain percentage of your staff that are PhDs. You have to have a certain percentage that are master's degrees. So we have brilliant self-taught engineers that used to work at Google that are teaching courses, but under accreditation rules, they can't qualify,
The
basically.
world's gone effing mad with this regulation because if you think about it, it's like you can't invest. I don't know your personal station in life, but are you an accredited investor at this point?
I'm not. Nope.
So literally you could run a company go to Y Combinator, raise millions of dollars, do a stock offering correctly with attorneys from Wilson Sonsini or Fenwick or whatever great law firm you use, and be too stupid to buy a private company share.
And I could go to Vegas for that matter, right?
Well, yeah, but I mean, if we're literally looking at accreditation as how financially sophisticated are you, you can do an offering, run a company, hire people, raise money, hire the best lawyers in the world, and then not be able to invest in your friend's company.
Yeah, I trade binary options $25,000 at a time. That's like...
What's a binary option? I don't even know what that is.
Calls, puts.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, what's your position on Tesla?
I actually...
You want to wade into that craziness?
So
the Tesla bears and bulls is the most insane discussion.
This is public. A couple years ago, I put 100% of my net worth in Tesla at 180.
Well done. You doubled your money.
Yeah. I'm not in it now because
Right.
all my money is in a very illiquid company, but...
Your own.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's okay.
I'm not sure what I would do right now.
When I was
mean,
in your situation, I put all my money into myself because I said, this is the one thing I have control over. It's the wise bet to make
for sure.
when you've got is your first company or second company?
Second.
Yeah, when you're doing like your first couple of companies, 100% focus on you and your skill and your ability to focus on building value.
Yep.
Because even if it fails, you get all that benefit.
Yeah. I will say, I'm pretty sure Elon's going to figure it out. They'll get the production problem
1,000%.
solved. But in the meantime, it's going to be a rocky road, right?
It's just
so I can't
unbelievable
predict the
to
stock
watch
price next week. I'm confident that 5 years it'll be just fine.
I can predict everything.
Next
I'll tell
week?
you. No. The bulls and the bears of this. The bulls use the product. Once you drive a Tesla, you realize it's like nothing else you've ever experienced.
Yeah.
And you realize you could never go backwards. And every time an electric car comes out, I try it. A new one, Leaf, whatever, bullshit. Sorry. You can beep that out 56 minutes in. Whatever nonsense is out there, it's not even close.
Yeah.
And so then you're like, oh, well, this is the dopest thing ever. I'm going 300-mile range on my Model 3, and it costs $55,000 for everything, and it drives like a Porsche. It's like half the price of a Porsche, and it's better.
It's kind of funny how like investors don't have a very good metric to look at quality of a product.
No.
Right?
NPS is out there, but not really.
You can tell it as a user, right? When you use an Apple product, you're like, okay, this is obviously going to win.
Yes. AirPods, a perfect example. You're like, AirPods are delightful.
Yeah, phenomenal in every way.
In the second hour of using AirPods, I said, this is the best product they made since the iPad, obviously.
But that won't show up in the financials for years. So all the analysts are looking at the financials.
Yeah.
There's not really a good
The
metric
other thing
for
that's so stupid about the whole debate is like, they're like, they need another $1 billion or $2 billion. Like, Masayoshi-san just spent $10 billion on Uber shares, right?
Yeah.
To buy 20%, whatever, 15, 20% of the company he bought. Like, what makes you think there's not another Masayoshi-san out there who would like to own 10% of Tesla?
Oh,
of course, there are a zillion of them.
Yeah, if they want,
not a zillion. There's dozens of people who would love to put $10 billion into
if they want to
Tesla.
dilute, worst case scenario, they're just fine, right? Look, freaking SoftBank could fund the whole company, right?
SoftBank could fund 5 of them, right? Like they're over $100 billion fund, and if you put 10 or 20 billion into each, and they don't even need 10 or 20, I think they need 2 billion. 1 or 2 billion. It's like they could do it.
Sell another round of bonds and you're fine.
Or do a secondary,
Sure.
like just do another IPO essentially, and sell another 10% of the company. It's no big deal.
Yeah.
And these bears, I think they're so short on the company. It's the largest short now of any company. And I'm like, do you really want to bet against this guy? Like, and people who are so addicted to the product.
Yeah. I mean, I really think it's one of those things where you look at the financials, you're like, oh, historically, this has not gone well.
Right.
When the production volume is ramping up like that. And if you don't believe that it's going to ramp up, sure. But like,
What
I don't
company
know.
can get they're at 2,400 cars a week? Like, do you think if the guy can get to 2,400 cars a week and pre-sell 500,000 and land 2 rockets simultaneously, that he can't get from 2,400 to 3,200 to 4,500 to 5,000?
Well,
Like,
I look at the history of Tesla, and who would have predicted how many Model S's are on the road today?
Nobody.
Not one person. Maybe you, because you were pretty
I have
early.
the first one, but I mean,
But-
they, if you go to any private school or any stadium in any city, there's no more BMWs or Mercedes. It's just Tesla everywhere.
Sand Hill Road is like 100% Tesla.
It's disturbing. It's like, what happened to the Mercedes, Audi, and Beamers? If you drive a Mercedes or a Beamer or an Audi, people look at you and are like, oh.
Yeah. Should have tried a little harder.
It's like, oh, yeah. Oh, you got a Mercedes? Oh.
Yeah.
Like it used to be Mercedes was the goal. Now it's like Tesla's the goal. That should
Yeah.
tell you everything you need to know.
Yeah.
All right, listen, Austen, I could talk to you all day. I am fascinated. Thank you for doing this business. It's hard. It's
Yeah.
a hard business.
It is.
But I think you're going to figure this one out. It's very clever. 0 upfront, and then maybe even paying your stipend if you're an A+ student. You got to hit those grades. You
Yep.
got to be performing. I like it. I like it a lot. All right. Everybody go check out Lambda School. LambdaSchool.com. LAMDBDA. Lambda.
The Greek letter, lambda.
Lambda, the Greek letter. Were you like one of those fraternity dudes?
No.
You were in a frat?
It's from the lambda calculus. Much more nerdy thing.
What is that? Lambda calculus. Sorry.
It's an anonymous function, basically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I was just talking about that the other day. Talking about anonymous functions.
It's a functional programming thing.
Oh, okay. And you can follow Austen Allred, AUSTENALLRED, CEO of an incredibly brilliant and hard to execute idea that could change the world. I honestly believe that this is the best idea I've heard in education. And I hear them all.
You do?
I like Treehouse.
Treehouse is cool.
I think that's very cool.
Yeah.
I think this is a better idea than Treehouse. I loved Linda. I thought Treehouse was better than Linda. I like Masterclass. I passed on investing in that like an idiot. But Masterclass I think is phenomenal. Like that seems to be like a great way to pull people in.
Get the star.
Get the star, pull them in. They need to do like, okay, I pulled you in for screenplay writing with this person, but now I'm going to pull you into the 6-month course.
Right.
That would be like you combine the two concepts. You should do that. You should get an all-star programmer.
We should buy Masterclass.
I don't think you'll be able to. No, I think that train's left the station from what I understand. But it is interesting. People will pay for education.
Yeah.
I mean,
they should. If the return is there, it's a great investment.
I can't believe how cheap some things are. I just was playing with this music app, Musician, and I got my subscription bill and it was like, you're on a 2-week free trial, and then you can use Musician for the next year for $110. And I was like, okay, one guitar lesson would be $110.
Yeah.
And I get guitar lessons for a year.
But you still like get nervous because you're like, an app.
Well, no, now I'm like, what else can I spend $100 on that makes my life amazing?
Sure.
Like if you use it 3 times in a year, it would be worth it.
Yeah.
$30 each, right? Like it's nothing.
Yeah.
All right. This has been a great episode. For those of you who are listening, if you want to come to my university, it's founder.university. We do it 6 times a year with 60 students in person, 3 days. 2 days of classes, 1 day of group exercises, and a fun event. Trying to keep it fun. And you have to apply. We're looking for companies and founders who are in the Goldilocks zone right now. What does that mean? You haven't raised your Series A or B. You're not like have escape velocity and 20 employees. But you have built an MVP or a prototype at least, but hopefully a product with a couple of customers. So that's our Goldilocks zone. You kind of got the product to market. You may have some customers, a little bit of traction, but not so much traction that Sequoia and Benchmark and Social Capital have competing term sheets out for your attention. All right, everybody. We'll see you all next time on This Week in Startups. Bye-bye.